my loyal and intuitive Cancer friend. Hello and welcome. My name is Mina, and I'm here to offer you a 3-card reading exploring the themes of you, your path, and your potential. I invite you to consider what the reading reveals about possible challenges, opportunities, and personal growth for the week ahead. Take a deep breath, rest your mind, and let's see what the cards have to share with you today. In Cancer, you might notice a silent tension running beneath the surface this week. It is that low, steady hum you hear when the room falls quiet, the kind that lingers after a disagreement or a disappointment. You may sense the echo of words unspoken, or replay the way someone's glance shifted in a moment that didn't feel quite right. There is a subtle heaviness in your chest, a feeling that something important was left unresolved. Rather than a storm, it's more like a slow, persistent drizzle that soaks into the seams of your day. You might find yourself wondering if someone misunderstood your intentions or if you crossed a line without meaning to. This uncertainty doesn't roar, it whispers. It tugs at your need for harmony and safety, urging you to retreat while also making you restless. The world feels a touch less gentle, and you may be left holding questions you're not quite ready to ask aloud. In the heart of this emotional landscape, the 5 of Swords emerges, not as a symbol but as a lived reality. There is conflict, not always loud or obvious but felt deeply. Perhaps you have stood your ground recently, defending your ideas, your boundaries, or your sense of fairness, only to realize that victory can taste bittersweet. Winning an argument or getting the last word might have left you feeling isolated rather than triumphant. Sometimes in the aftermath, you notice how others withdraw or how your own heart recoils from what was said. The urge to be right, to be seen or heard can leave its own mark, even when it feels necessary at the time. You might be replaying moments where you spoke up, questioning whether your words were too sharp or whether silence would have been softer. There's a sense of regret woven through your memories, as if you long to smooth over rough edges but aren't sure how. This week, you could feel torn between self-protection and reconciliation, between holding your ground and reaching for peace. There's a vulnerability that sits quietly behind your defenses, a hope for understanding, and a fear that the distance created might be too wide to cross. This is an inner state not just of tension, but of reckoning. You become aware of what conflict costs, even when it's done in the name of honesty. There's a fatigue that lingers, making you question if the lines you drew truly needed to be so sharp. It's a week when your inner world asks you to sit with discomfort, to notice the ache that comes from unresolved matters, and to sense the longing for both clarity and connection. In this space, you're not just reacting, you're reflecting, and in that quiet pause, the possibility of change begins to surface. From this tender place, the week unfolds almost as a natural consequence. The tension you carry, whether visible or hidden, starts to shape what happens next. When you feel the sting of past words or the weight of unresolved feelings, it becomes harder to move freely. Each interaction is colored by what came before. You may find yourself more guarded or more prone to read into silences and glances. Even simple decisions seem to carry extra weight because you're aware of what's at stake if things go wrong. This inner unease doesn't just stay inside. It leaks out in small ways, guiding your choices, your hesitations, and your willingness to engage. You might avoid certain conversations or feel compelled to revisit old arguments in your mind. The path ahead is shaped by the echoes of conflict, not in dramatic ways, but in the slow drift of distance or the tension of unspoken words. The week becomes a landscape where old patterns are easy to fall into, and where the cost of those patterns becomes more obvious. Now on your path, the presence of the devil becomes apparent, not as a punishment, but as an honest accounting of pressure. There is a strong, almost magnetic pull toward habits or dynamics that repeat themselves. You may notice how certain situations bring out the same reactions in you, again and again. Perhaps you feel trapped by obligations, or by the sense that you have to keep up appearances, even when your heart isn't fully in it. There's a kind of friction here, as if you're caught between the desire to break free and the comfort of what's familiar, even when it isn't serving you. The week may bring moments when you're tempted to numb or distract yourself, by staying busy, by retreating into routines, or by holding tightly to grievances that feel safer than vulnerability. Old stories about who you are, or how you need to protect yourself, may feel louder than usual. There can be a sense that you're stuck, repeating cycles you wish you could outgrow, but not quite knowing how. The pressure doesn't always come from outside. Often it's the weight of your own expectations or the belief that you have to manage everything alone. This friction builds quietly. You might notice it in the way you tense up before a difficult conversation, or in the relief you feel when you avoid one altogether. There's a momentum to old patterns. They promise safety but deliver more of the same. The Devil card in this space points to the ongoing challenge of recognizing your own role in these cycles, and to the uneasy comfort of staying somewhere that's less than what you want, simply because it's familiar. The week asks you to see the pressure for what it is, and to acknowledge how it shapes not just your actions, but your sense of possibility. Yet the future isn't written by momentum alone. While the path is shaped by what has come before, it isn't fixed. You notice, perhaps slowly, that a different way is possible, but only if you pause long enough to see it. The potential for change depends on your willingness to meet the moment as it is, not as you wish it were. If you continue simply reacting, the patterns will repeat. But if you allow yourself to be present, to really feel what's uncomfortable or unresolved, then something new might quietly emerge. The possibility waits in the space where you become conscious of your own choices, and the freedom to step in a different direction begins to appear, not as a guarantee but as an invitation. Here the Eight of Cups calls to you, not as a promise of transformation, but as a gentle hand resting on your shoulder, reminding you that growth is a lived choice. There is a bittersweet quality to this card's invitation. It speaks of leaving behind what no longer nourishes you, even when doing so feels uncertain or sad. This is not about running away from difficulty, but about recognizing when something has reached its natural end. You might feel the urge to step away from an old argument, a worn-out pattern, or a story about yourself that simply doesn't fit anymore. This week, growth comes through honoring what you feel, even if it's uncomfortable. The Eight of Cups does not rush you, nor does it demand certainty. Instead, it invites you to listen for the quiet truth beneath your defenses, the wisdom that knows when it's time to move on, and when it's time to stay. There is a softness in this movement, a respect for what has been and an openness to what could be. You may not have all the answers, and you don't need them. The potential lies in being gentle with yourself as you consider what truly matters, and in allowing yourself to imagine a different way of being. Growth in this space is not a leap but a series of small, honest steps toward what feels right for you. All three cards, woven together, tell a story both familiar and quietly hopeful. The week opens with the sting of conflict and the ache of words that cannot be unsaid. You carry the tension, feeling both the need to protect yourself and the longing for peace. This tension gives rise to patterns, the old, well-worn habits that promise safety but rarely deliver it. There is pressure here, sometimes subtle, sometimes sharp, to hold on to what you know, even when it no longer fits. Yet within this pressure, a door quietly opens. The invitation is not to fix everything at once, but to notice what wants to change. The Eight of Cups reminds you that it is possible to step away, gently, from what keeps you stuck, not by force but by listening to the quiet wisdom inside you. The journey is not about winning or losing, but about finding your way back to yourself, one honest moment at a time. In the end, you are left with the reassurance that you can honor your feelings without being ruled by them, and that even the smallest act of self-compassion can change the shape of your week. There is space to breathe, to forgive, and to imagine a softer way forward. Actionable insights for Cancer this week. Let yourself notice the moments when you tense up, and see what happens if you pause there for a breath. Try spending a few minutes in a familiar place that feels peaceful, letting yourself unwind without needing to solve anything. If you find yourself replaying an old conversation, see how it feels to gently shift your attention towards something you appreciate right now. Spoken word affirmations to repeat aloud for a more positive mindset. I let my shoulders drop and breathe in quiet. I am allowed to choose what brings me peace. My feelings matter, but they do not define me. I trust myself to take the next gentle step. And now, dear friend, I thank you for giving me your time. I truly hope I have given you something helpful in return. Goodbye and good luck until next time.